Dr. Williams is a professor at the University of Marquette University here in Milwaukee. It's a well-known university throughout the country, throughout the world. And he's here to share some information with you regarding humanoid robots and careers in information technology. So at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Dr. Andrew Williams, and he's going to share some great information with you.
All right. Good morning, everyone. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about what I do with humanoid robots and computer science, computer engineering, and also I'm going to give you a robot demo. And probably what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait to do the robot demo at the end. Because my computer is back there, I'm going to have to walk back and forth and do a couple things. So I want to show you some videos. So as was mentioned, I'm a professor in electrical and computer engineering, and I also direct the Humanoid Engineering and Intelligent Robotics Lab. So what I want to do first is to tell you about what I've done before, because I've been at Marquette for 3.5 years. And prior to that, I was at Spelman College for 8 years. Has anyone ever heard of Spelman College? Okay, so Spelman College is a historically black college for women. You've heard of Martin Luther King Jr.? His sister went to Spelman College, and he went across the street to Morehouse College, which is an all-men's college. So you've heard of Martin Luther King Jr., right? So Spike Lee went there, people like Samuel Jackson. And so I taught there, and I want to show you a video about what I did there. So I'm going to play it on my laptop.
I'm sorry.
When you're dealing with robots, sometimes you've got to be patient.
I cannot see the ball yet. I'm sorry. Oh, I see the ball.
Thanks for coming to our Spellbots Club meeting.
Computer scientist Andrew Williams is founder of the Spellbots, the first all-female African-American RoboCup team. Their patience and hard work has paid off in international competitions. On the Spelman College campus, they're rock stars.
They recognize their face, they say, oh, you're the Spellbots captain, or you're on Spellbots, you're doing the robotics thing.
Jasmine Miller and Janicia Keels are co-captains of the team at this historically black college in Atlanta.
I find, working at an all-women's college, there tends to be more of the social side of, teamwork, basically. There's a big emphasis on collaboration, creativity, the social aspects of engineering, computer science.
With help from the National Science Foundation, Williams is bringing engineering and robotics challenges to young women in this still male-dominated field.
A big reason why there's not a lot of women in computer science is because of intimidation. In first semester here, that really gave me so much encouragement, empowered me so much that now my confidence is up the roof.
Spellbots have competed in RoboCup contests in Europe and Asia with teams from more than 30 countries.
I really love traveling with Spellbots to go places because I feel like I am literally tearing apart the stereotypes about, computer scientists or roboticists.
For them, technology has endless possibilities.
I see robotics as a way for me to put everything I studied on computer.
You a little bit more, but they've been traveling and competing in RoboCup. But first, let me tell you a little bit about myself. So I was born in a small town in Kansas. It's an army town next to Fort Riley, Kansas. It's called Junction City. And it was a farming community, but it was also known for this big military base, one of the biggest military bases in the U.S. And every military payday, the soldiers would go to this street called 9th Street. and spend their money, and they would get involved in all kinds of things, illicit things. And this town, even though it was small, it was so infamous around the world. They made a movie out of it called 9th Street. And it starred Isaac Hayes and Martin Sheen. And I actually never watched the movie. My brother and I started to watch it, but it was so bad we didn't want to watch it. My only memory of 9th Street was seeing this woman walking down the street with a cross in the middle of the street. And they ended up tearing down the street, and then all the activity moved to our main street. But that was the town that I grew up in. And in the town, across the street from us, when we moved from our trailer to a house, they sold drugs across the street. The other kids on this side of us would would end up going to boys' homes and in jail. And we had another person on this side who would dress up at the opposite gender and go participate on our main street in these illicit activities. And I'm the youngest of 6 kids. There were, I was the youngest of 6 kids. My dad was African American. He met my mom during the Korean War, and there weren't enough rooms in this 2-bedroom trailer that we lived in, so I ended up having to sleep in a cardboard box as a baby. And so I like to tell this story to people because I want people to know, what God has brought me from, but also that it doesn't matter what environment that you come from. What matters is how hard you work, the passion you have, and the decisions and choices you make in life. So I ended up going through public education throughout high school. I did well on my PSAT tests, and so I was getting letters from MIT and Stanford and Harvard. And my dad had never gone to college, so he said, well, why don't you just go to University of Kansas? So I ended up going to University of Kansas, and I graduated from there, worked as an engineer in Kansas City at a company called Allied Signal Aerospace Company, which became a part of Honeywell. I decided to go back to school because I wanted to get more into software. So I ended up going back to school, got an internship out here in Waukesha with GE Medical Systems, which is now GE Healthcare. And then they wanted me to come work full-time in their GE Edison engineering program. So it was a 2-year technical training program. So I joined that, and I finished my master's at Marquette. So then I left Milwaukee and went back to Kansas because I decided I wanted to become a professor. And so my wife is from Kansas City, so we went back to Kansas. I went to University of Kansas, and I started studying for my doctorate degree, my PhD in electrical engineering. So in 1999, I became the first African American to receive their PhD in engineering at University of Kansas. And this was a university that was over 100 years old. So then my first job out of my PhD was at the University of Iowa. So I was a professor in electrical and computer engineering there, and my research was in artificial intelligence, multi-agent systems, and machine learning. And so my wife and I, we read the book, The Purpose-Driven Life, and I decided that I wanted to help African American students. So I ended up getting a job at Spelman, and you saw part of what I did while I was at Spelman. I've also done some things with Apple and Boeing. So I'd like to show a picture of my greatest treasures. So some people, their greatest treasure is the amount of money they can make or the position they have in a company or what they own. And my greatest treasures is my wife and my 3 kids. And now, they're actually older than this now. 2 of them are college students, and my youngest is in high school now. And this is a picture of my dad and my mom. And this is the closest that we came to having a baby picture for me. Because if you have 6 kids, by the time you get to the 6th kid, you get tired of taking pictures of your kids. This is the trailer that I first lived in as a baby. And these are all my siblings and my mom, and I wasn't born yet. So guess how many of us went to college? Can anybody guess? None? Me? Okay. All 6 of us went to college. Even though we were low income, my mom had a sickness that was a big obstacle for our family. All 6 of us went to college. My oldest brother has his PhD in electrical engineering. And then my other brother, he went to University of Kansas in aerospace engineering. Then he went to Massachusetts Institute of Technology for 2 degrees, master's degrees in mathematics and aerospace engineering. And then my other brother got his computer science degree, and he's finishing up his PhD degree. And then I have my 2 sisters, they both have master's degrees. So again, it's not the environment and trying to fulfill your God-given potential. So after we moved out of the trailer, we moved to this house on 15th Street. It was a few blocks away from that 9th Street. And this is after we had moved out, but it wasn't much better than this when we lived there. But this is my dad, and this is my daughter. We had gone back to visit. So, I want to, let me go back. So I want to tell you about RoboCup. So you saw in that video, we competed in RoboCup. Anybody familiar with the World Cup? Okay, what is the World Cup?
It's a worldwide soccer tournament.
Yeah, so it's a worldwide championship for soccer, for human soccer. Does anybody know who won the last time they had the World Cup on the men's side? Yeah, any adults who know?
Germany.
Yeah, Germany won the last time they had the World Cup. And anyone know who won on the the women's side?
USA.
Yeah, so the United States women won the World Cup. So just like there's a world championship for human soccer, there's a world championship for humanoid robot soccer. And so the goal is by 2050 to have a team of humanoid robots that can beat the human World Cup soccer champion. And of course the robots are going to have to be a lot taller than this. The robots will be adult size. So anyone think by the year 2050 we'll have a team of humanoid robots that can beat the World Cup soccer champion? Anyone?
I don't think it would be ethical.
You don't think it'll be ethical to play soccer?
Well, like, the robots don't hurt us because they're hard.
You think they're going to hurt us because they're hard? But so you're thinking that the robots have to be hard, though, right? Is there anything preventing it from making it soft? So, but it's a good question, though. I mean, because there are going to have to be some ethics. So, does anyone think it's going to happen? All right, so I think it's going to happen even sooner. So about, well, it was around 2007. There weren't any cars that could drive by themselves. And the government, through the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, or DARPA, decided they were going to have a contest to see if anyone could build a car that could drive all by itself between this, on this route somewhere in the desert between Las Vegas and Los Angeles. In the first year, no car could do it. So it's using different kind of cameras, different kind of sensors, LiDAR sensors, GPS, but no one could drive it. The only thing that could be in there, a person could be in there and they could just press an emergency stop button. That's the only thing could happen, but they couldn't control anything. So the first year, no car could do it. The second year, they had the same competition. It was called the DARPA Grand Challenge. And they raised the prize money to $2 million. And that year, the first year, no car even made made the route. They were all, crashing and stalling and things like that. The second year, a team from Stanford University won. A team from Carnegie Mellon University took second place. And now, fast forward to today, it is now legal to have autonomous or driverless cars in California and Nevada. And so you've probably seen, have you seen Google's driverless car? So now Google's driverless car can drive all by itself in traffic, in San Francisco traffic on the highway. And I've only heard of one accident so far that they've had. So, so that's an example of, well, it's not, we don't think it's possible today, but given the amount of research we do, it's going to be possible. And the reason why RoboCup has this big international research project around soccer is because soccer is more popular than basketball or football all around the world. And so they understand it. And by the time you have a robot that can play soccer, it can run, jump, it can communicate, make decisions, it can see, it can defend, it can dribble, you will have developed technology that can help a person maybe who is paralyzed, they can't walk, or maybe an elderly person, a robot that can help take care of an elderly person, or a robot that can help a person rehabilitate from injuries, or having maybe a soldier has lost a limb, maybe a robotic arm that's controlled by the brain that can help to get their function again. So that's the reason. It's also fun, these competitions. So as I showed you in the video, we had a team from Spelman, and in 2005 they were the first all-women African-American team, RoboCup team, to qualify and compete in the four-legged robot competitions with these four-legged dog robots. And that year there were 24 teams in this particular four-legged competition. There were probably over 100 teams in different competitions because they had humanoid leagues, they had ones with wheels, some big ones, small ones. They had search and rescue leagues. And that year, out of the 24 teams that competed in RoboCup in the four-legged competition, there were 4 U.S. teams. And there was Carnegie Mellon University, University of Pennsylvania, which is an Ivy League school, and then University of Texas Austin, which is a big engineering school. And here we are, Spelman College, an undergraduate liberal arts college for women, and we competed and qualified. So the next year we qualified and competed in Bremen, Germany. And then the next year we competed in the four-legged robot technical challenge, and our students tied for second in the passing event in the technical challenge out of 16 teams. And the team that won it that year was a team of 4 German universities that was a consortium of 4 German universities. They won it. And the team that took third behind us was a team from Japan. And then the team that tied with us was University of Texas Austin. And the main person that did the programming for that was this young lady. She had just finished her first year in school. So she was only 2 years out of high school. So if we have any seniors, she was just 1 year away from having graduated. And she was the main person. A lot of times, people say, well, you're just a freshman in college, you don't understand enough. But don't listen to people that say that. You have the same ability to learn and do things as anyone else. So we qualified for RoboCup in China. And in 2009 was the first time we used these now humanoid robots. And these now humanoid robots, they are the ones that can walk and play soccer as well. And we competed in the RoboCup Japan Open in 2009. And we tied in the championship match. against Fukuoka Institute of Technology. And it was predominantly all male team. And I don't tell too many people this, but I'll tell you, is we went to the award ceremony to get our certificate that we had tied in this championship match. And they were calling different names, and they never called our team's name. And when we were competing, one of our students, Jasmine, she was taking Japanese, and she felt like the other team and the announcer and the crowd was making fun of our team. And so I tell you that because racism and sexism is still alive, not only in the United States but around the world. And you can still and will be probably still pioneers like these young ladies were. So Jasmine, the next year, Jasmine and Janicia, they decided to enter this national mobile app contest in 2010. And so the year before, it was a team from Harvard, a team of students from Harvard University that won. And the year before that, it was a team from Stanford University. So they ended up, I helped them get in a workshop just to learn the basics, but they took it further and they entered this competition and they won it. They made an app called HBC Buddy that allows you to visit other historically black colleges and universities virtually. And they won it. So they won $10,000 and they also a phone of their choice, which they got iPhone. So don't let people say you can't win and you can't achieve. It's a matter of how hard you work and how hard you believe that you can achieve. So because of that, they've been in a lot of media like Ebony, Jet, Black Enterprise, CNN, CBS, and so forth. So in 2012, Marquette University, where I got my master's, recruited me to come back. They were going to make me an endowed professor, a distinguished chair, which is about the highest you can go as just an academic professor, and a full professor with tenure. So you have tenure means that you essentially have a job for the rest of your life if you want to stay there. And so also at Marquette University, because I'm a professor, my kids and my wife is one of my students in my class, and now he's working with me, and we're building a new version of our robot that's going to, our goal is to build a robot that can help kids with their homework. Would you all like a robot that can help you with your homework? So if you had questions and you need a tutor, you could have it there in the home to help you. So, so the key to being able to design something new is to use your imagination. You know, we kind of laugh like that would be great, but we're actually going through a design thinking process. Dan is working part-time to help me with the software and the embedded systems. I have some students from the Milwaukee Institute of Art and Design, and we've been talking with Stanford Center for Design Research and learning how they design new products, and a lot of their students end up working at Apple and Google to design new products. So that's what we do. And so what I had problems connecting before, so I'm going to see if this robot can connect. What is your name again? Yeah, Noah? Yeah, so Noah saw this because I presented, this week has been National Robotics Week, and I presented at his school, Golden Meyer. Yeah. So at least Noah can tell you it does work. But now if you can hand me my laptop, bring it over here, because I'm going to...
Yeah, and probably just unhook the adapter.
Yeah, you can turn this off for a few minutes. Okay. So while this is coming up, I just want to tell you a little bit about this particular humanoid robot. First of all, can anyone guess how much this robot costs? Thousands?
500?
500? 700? What's that? 5,000? That's pretty close. Now you could go on robotshop.com and buy this for the low price of $9,000. When we were at Spelman College and we got our first one in 2009, they cost over $20,000 a piece. So the goal of our social robot team that's funded by the National Science Foundation through their Innovation Core for Learning program that Dan Thomas is working with me on, the goal is to build a low-cost social robot that people can afford, more in the hundreds of dollars range. And as you can see from that, the emulate humanoid robot that I showed you on the video, we're trying to make use of either an iPad or a smartphone. Because if you remember on that video, Daryl was talking to the robot and it would give different emotional expressions. So the idea is you have your smartphone with you all day, and then you can plug in your smartphone into your social robot, and it animates it and it interacts with you because it knows what you've been doing.
What makes it so expensive?
Oh, that's a good question. So the humanoid robot that we built, if you don't count the 3D printer and the software, it also costs around $8,000, and the most expensive part to make is the motors for us. So it's inside each of the joints. There are. Uh-oh, it looks like I'm getting low on power. Let me plug it in. So inside each joint is an actuator or a motor. In our humanoid robot, the motors, the more powerful ones are for the legs, and they're about $500 a piece, and the other ones are about $300 a piece. And by the time you add up about 20 of them, it's expensive. So the one that we're trying to build is going to be, we need lower cost motors. So there's a lot of things that are involved in creating a humanoid robot. So you have the mechanical design, you have the electrical, the power system, you have the embedded systems. You have, in here there's 2 central processing units, or CPUs. There's, this has sonar sensors. This also has touch or tactile sensors. Inside it has a gyroscope and accelerometers like your phone. So if you turn your phone, it knows which direction it is. The robot can know what, whether it's falling or walking forward. Right now it's using some face detection. So it has speech generation, speech recognition. And all these things have to fit together. The software, the hardware, the electrical power system. It has 2 video cameras. So it takes video, like you have a video camera on your phone, but it takes math algorithms in order to determine what's in that image. So this, fortunately, the French company that makes this robot, they made an interface, a programming interface called Choreograph that makes it easier for like kids to program, but you can go deep enough into the robot that research can be done. So let's just see what Rosie says here.
Hello, I'm Rosie. My internet address is 10. 0, 1, 2. Warning 501, I can't connect to cloud services. My system date is wrong.
Okay, so it gave me an IP address, and so now she, oh, let's see, I can't show you what's on here. But right now, I'm using this choreograph software. If you guys want to see it, you can move so you can see it. But I'm going to connect to Rosie. Uh-oh, it says can't connect. Hold on. Let's do this one more time.
Hello, I'm Rosie. My internet address is 10, 0, 1, 2.
So let's see, 10, 0, 1, 2. Okay, so now if you look, you can see me in the picture on the computer because she's looking at me through the camera. So I'm going to load a program here. So you'll see this program has a bunch of boxes, and each box represents a robot behavior. If you click on the box, oops, let me go back here. If you click on a box, you can see the Python code that controls that particular behavior. So, have you heard of the Python programming language? Okay, so there's, you've heard of Java, right? Java or C#. So Python is just another programming language. And this is the Python code that's recognized by these boxes. So each box, you can have inputs into the box and runs that code, and then you can have outputs to go to another box or a robot behavior. So what I'll do now is I'm going to send that program code to Rosie through this wire, through Wi-Fi. So once it is in there, Rosie should be able to run.
Hello, please ask me about a type of engineering. Please pick one.
Electrical.
Electrical. Play with electricity. Kind of do some coding. Build tons of colorful circuits. Want to pick another? Please pick one.
Mechanical.
Mechanical. Stop. Hammer time. We play with cool engines.
So the students wrote this program.
Thermodynamics and statics will be your best friends. Want to pick another? Please pick one.
Computer.
Computer. Program awesome robots like me. Drink lots of Red Bull. Coding, coding, and more coding. Want to pick another? Please pick one.
Biomedical.
Biomedical. Sometimes you will wonder if you're actually a biology major. You deal with the body. I wish I had one of those. Want to pick another? Please pick one.
Civil.
Civil. Build bridges and other structures. We like to play in traffic. We also have environmental engineering at Marquette. Want to pick another? Please pick one.
No.
No. Have a great day. Welcome to Marquette.
Okay, so I'm going to let Rosie rest, and then I'm going to try to load another program to show you. And this one is a difficult one. It was a predominantly white high school, but she was African American. And she was inspired because she had tried to join a robotics team in her high school. It's like, it's actually one of the top high schools. It's like the third highest rated STEM high school in the country. It's in Atlanta, Georgia, or north of Atlanta. And she tried to join the robotics team, but there weren't very many girls or people like her, and she didn't feel comfortable, so she quit. But then once she saw the story about the Spellbots, she decided she was going to start her own team for high school. And she started an all-girls team. And then she contacted me when she was getting ready to do her senior year, and she said, she kept on asking me, can I work in your lab? I'll volunteer for free. We have this, internship program. I forgot what it was called, an internship or something like that. And so she ended up joining my lab just as a high school student. And she would go, probably drive about 30 minutes twice a week to come to my lab, which is in downtown Atlanta, and she was in a northern suburb. So she had I was impressed by her motivation and her drive. And if you have that type of motivation and drive and ask people questions and try to volunteer, they'll really notice because that's unusual. So she joined and she started working on this project to get robots that could help be exercise coaches, to help kids. And she did a research poster, and Spelman has this big research day. And so everyone does projects, not everybody, but most people. And as a high school senior, she did a project and she won the computer science contest. So, so I'm telling you that because there are people that see opportunities like these or opportunities you have on Saturday mornings, and they really take advantage of it. And so I just encourage you to keep taking advantage. So let's see if Rosie can...
Hello, I am Coach Rosie. Do you want to see me exercise?
Yes.
Yes. First, let's start with a hamstring stretch. For this stretch, you're going to maximally extend and lift one leg in the air. Let's start with the right leg. Switch legs. Hold for 10 seconds. Now let's do some push-ups.
So just to be safe, I'm going to spot Rosie. She's been having some trouble with her joints. But she can do this all by herself, but I just want to make sure she doesn't get stuck. I really haven't had to do much.
Wait till it starts. So what should you buy?
Let's give Rosie a hand. So I'm going to let her sleep now. And I'm going to connect this back up. All right, so I'm glad Rosie got to work for you all. So just plug your in to the camera. Okay.
Should take it all sense.
All right, so what we did was we developed some experiments with college students. That was just a short routine. We have a 30-minute routine that we would run with college students, 30 minutes a week for 5 weeks, and they wore Nike Fuel Bands to track their activity. And we had some students work with the robot, some students work with human coaches. There were students at Marquette who are exercise physiology coaches. And we try to compare, because that's what you do. When you do an experiment, you have a hypothesis, and you try to prove whether that hypothesis is true or not. So, oh yeah, can you press the button up here? Just play. Thanks. All right, so this now humanoid robot can it runs using the Linux operating system. So it's running the CPU in its head. You can program with C++ or Python or Choreograph, as I showed you. And you've seen a little bit of what it could do. What I'm particularly interested in is in assistive robotics. Robots that can help people rehabilitate from injuries, elderly care, or help them with their health. But lately I've been interested in things that can assist students in learning in school. Can anybody tell me what this is a picture of? Yeah, so it's an astronaut. This is a humanoid robot. And this robot, Robonaut 2, has been in the International Space Station. And it was built by NASA and General Motors. Because just like you see in science fiction movies, anybody see Interstellar? So there's some robots that help the astronauts in Interstellar. Anybody know what this is? It looks like a CAT scan, but what? Is that a Da Vinci machine? Yeah, it's a Da Vinci robot. So these robots help surgeons perform surgeries. And I was showing this once to somebody, and they said, "Oh yeah, I had some heart surgery done with a Da Vinci robot." So the reason why is these robots can be really precise. I need to ask my niece, because she just accepted the offer to be a faculty surgeon at Emory University in Atlanta.
Question. The robots can be precise, right? But do they have the ability to account for the unexpected?
So that's a good question. It's limited. So that's why this is controlled by a human, because the human can account for the unexpected. But that raises a really good question with autonomous cars. So if you've seen car commercials, they're getting more robotic capability or autonomy built into them. So you've seen the commercial where the guy's driving and then another car pulls up, and so the car stops. But what happens if your car is driving and then there's a little girl in the front that walks in front of the car? On the side there's a school bus, and then over on this side is just a bridge. You're on a bridge, and you'll fall into the river if you go that way. So what is the robot going to do? So that's a question that came up in the movie I, Robot with Will Smith. It's one of my favorite robot movies. Because I think this raises a really good question. There's going to be robots like that, but who is going to program them and design them so that humans are going to be safe and that the robots are going to make the right choices? Because you know, you may or may not know that essentially Boeing airplanes, they fly by themselves, and they can land by themselves, they can take off by themselves. I spent a summer, I was a Boeing Welliver faculty fellow. I spent 3 months in Seattle and their new place in South Carolina and Los Angeles where they make satellites, seeing what they do with robotics and automation. And they can fly by themselves, essentially. But humans are there to make decisions because, as you said, they don't know what to do when there's so many different factors. But there's a whole new area. Well, it's not a new area. It's an old area, but it's becoming very, very popular and in use. It's called machine learning and data mining. It's called big data. I don't know if you heard of that. But now, instead of explicitly programming robots what to do or computer programs, machine learning algorithms can learn what to do based on what's happened in the past. So, as you know, from being involved in this, that computer science and information technology is hard work. It can be fun. You can use creativity. You can do things to help people and design robots and so forth. The language, the programming language, is just one way to implement some of that creativity you have. And mathematics is another language that's useful. We got about 5 minutes left. Okay. So with computing and robotics, it's used in healthcare, the arts and field, computer animation, movie editing, entrepreneurship. A lot of people are starting companies based on, programming apps. The guy who started WhatsApp, I think someone tried to buy it for like $3.5 billion. He got rejected by Twitter and Facebook. He couldn't get a job there, so he just wrote his own app, and now it's worth over $3 billion. And last year, Apple invited me to their Worldwide Developer Conference. I met a high school student. He wrote 4 apps, and he's had over 2 million downloads of his app. And so he said, that's one of the reasons why he can go to MIT is because his app is paying for his way to college. So all it takes is you thinking of an idea, trying it. If it doesn't work, try to improve it, and to have that motivation and that drive. By the year, in 5 more years, they project there's going to be 1 million open information technology jobs, but only 500,000 students graduating from college for those jobs. So there's a big demand. A few years ago, I looked at a survey from CNN Money Magazine, and guess what they said was the best job in America? Well, what are we at right now? So it's a software engineer. So the number 2 was a college professor. And they did it based on average pay, but don't forget to stop. A lot of people don't realize you can go to a company like Apple and either they'll give you stock or you can buy it at a reduced price and it becomes real valuable. When I don't have time to tell you, but I have a TEDx talk. If you search TEDx and Andrew Williams, you can see it. But I met Steve Jobs, ended up being hired by Steve Jobs because he wanted to hire more black engineers. And so I was Apple's first senior engineering diversity manager. But anyway, one of the vice presidents from Apple sold their stock one weekend, some of the stock, and it was like worth $16 million. And now there's an African-American woman who's, there are 2 vice presidents who are African-American women at Apple. One who's in charge of all the HR, who I know, and she's a friend of mine. But in terms of the stress and flexibility and creativity, it's good. And So I think the last thing I'll say, since I'm running out of time, is how many people are planning on going to college in 4 years and get a bachelor's degree? Okay, how many of you are planning on going another 2 years and getting a master's degree? So is anyone planning to go another 4 or 5 years and get a PhD? Okay, so I want to encourage you I want to be the first to tell you you can get a PhD. And basically, to get a PhD, you just get to research something that you're really interested about. You want to learn everything about, you can, and you write a summary book, a dissertation about that. And then after that, you become a doctor. And someone has told me that a person with a PhD makes $1 million more on average over their lifetime than someone that doesn't. So, so it's opened up a lot of doors for me. I met Steve Jobs, I met the founders of Google, and talked to them. I talked to Bill Gates. The PhD, they call you doctor, it opens up a lot of doors. Last thing I want to leave you with is, I've kind of talked about this, so I'm going to skip, but just basically this means have a vision for your life that's greater than what you're doing now and what everyone else is doing. And then I'll leave you with this motto. It's a Winston Churchill quote. Success is never final. Failure is seldom fatal, but it's courage that counts. Thank you.
Sharing this valuable information with our high school students. The information technology field is wide open. So if you do decide to go into that area, you'll probably definitely have no problem finding a job in the future. Am I correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you so much. We'll turn it back over to
Yeah, so let's have dance group get ready to move over to the other side.